Another epic Sunday for the Texans, this time in Chicago. What did we love and what did we hate about this game?
Okay. Let me narrow it down to just a couple things. I didn't know I was supposed to do something I loved about it. I think I read your email, and all I saw was, what do you hate about this game? I'm going to tell you two things I hate. I'll tell you one thing I hate, and then one thing that I'll love if they change. One thing I hate, the run defense. I mean, that was atrocious. That's embarrassing when you have 281 yards run up on you. And I wish I could blame idiocy or something. I wish these guys were dumb and they weren't in the right spots. But at times they're in the right spots and they're just getting trucked because they're physically not capable of standing up. One thing I like Dameon Pierce. I would love to see more of Dameon Pierce and not have him banished to the seventh circle of hell because he fumbled. So I like Dameon Pierce, and I despise the non-usage of him at times.
You know, what I liked about Lovie Smith, though, Seth, talking about giving up a lot of yards on the ground. You know, some coaches, well, if it wouldn't have been for that 40 and 50-yard run, we really were good. So Lovie said after the game, look, we can't give up those long runs. So I'm with you on that. Here's what I loved about the game. I loved when Petrie got that early interception, boom, sudden change, throw downfield. Instead of, in the season opener, boom, Petrie got an interception. Let's hand it off to Rex Burkhead. So I love that. What I hated was they got down to the end zone. Of course, they turned it over. And as Lovie Smith said afterwards, it doesn't matter if you get a turnover if you don't score off of it. I like that. I really like that. And I love the intensity of the defense, even though they had trouble with the run. But what I hated was, let's see, this was not a good loss. Just like you can't have a good headache. Oh, man, this headache's not bad. It's not a migraine. This was not a good loss. This was another game you could have won. I hated every time Rex Burkhead is in the game. Okay, 99% of the times Rex is in the game, they either hand it off to him or try to throw it to him. If we know that, an intelligent veteran defensive player going to do about that, they're going to key on Rex Burkhead all the time. They've got to change that up. You're going to have Rex in the game. You're going to have to change it up. And I agree with you, Seth. I want to see more of Dameon Pierce.
I hated the fact that of the Texans' first 14 defensive plays, 5 of them went for double-digit yards. That's basically 1/3. And I'm not going to say I hate this, but I dislike that Seth doesn't take more time to read my pre-show emails. But that's okay. That's all right. That's all right. Daniel?
I loved Jalen Petrie's intensity again. I mean, the kid, that's a great draft pick. I think we could circle that one and say that is a great draft pick. He's around the ball. He's very instinctual. I mean, he gets how to play football. I love that. I hate the fact that we're not seeing this so-called creative play calling that we heard all about during training camp. I mean, all the guys were talking about, oh, yeah, man, we're really excited about Peps Hamilton's offense. We're going to really go out there. I mean, checkdowns to Rex Burkhead in critical situations, that is not something that I expected to see, especially after all the talk in the offseason. So I just hate the lack of creativity and the lack of really just changing things up on offense there when they really need it the most. They go conservative when they really should be opening things up in critical moments of the game. I just don't get that. Through 3 games, that's really alarming to me.
Yeah, the evaporation of competence in the fourth quarter is what's really frustrating, is you feel like they tantalize you a little bit through the first 3 quarters, and then they yank the rug out from under you.
Is this run defense? Is this something that can be fixed?
Look, they're not going to be like the 85 Bears anytime soon. 86 Bears, 85 Bears, mid-80s Bears. But I think that there are a couple things as far as just setting the edge in the run game. They let too many easy plays around the end because guys are either out of position or they miss a tackle or they're just not committed to their responsibilities. Some of the tackling can improve. It's never an excuse, never a valid excuse to say, well, we're not allowed to hit in practice. You know who else isn't allowed to hit in practice? All the 31 other teams. You're the worst at it right now. So it's not an excuse when you're the worst of everybody else who's operating by the same rules. They have to fix that just to get to be credible run defenders. They're not going to be respectable until they stop just having the ball forced down their throats, especially in critical moments of the game.
What I alluded to before, what I like about Lovie Smith, this guy was upset after this game. He was pretty upbeat after the first two games, the loss and the tie, but he knows that there were too many mistakes out there. And when I said before, some coaches will say, hey, had it not been for this long run or that long run, Lovie was having no part of that in the post-game news conference. He said, you give up the big plays, you should never give up those big plays. So I'm really going to be interested to see what happens going forward. He's going to shuffle some personnel. He likes to rotate on defensive line, but he may move some personnel around after this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just too many missed tackles. Like, it's too many missed tackles at this point. We talked about the first two games that the safeties were getting a lot of tackles because they were, the running backs were breaking through the front seven. But now, I mean, especially in this game, his second string running back with the Bears because Montgomery gets hurt early. I mean, it's just too many missed tackles. I mean, that can't happen. And on the other side of the ball, when it comes to the Texans' run offense, I mean, I saw a stat and it kind of blew me away. Dameon Pierce had 12 carries, 66 yards in the first half and a touchdown. The rest of the game, he had 8 carries, 14 yards. So, I mean, you got to give the ball to your horse. I mean, obviously the Bears were doing it. They were having a little bit more success, but you got to keep feeding Dameon Pierce because he was breaking through on some of those holes. It's just little things like that that just makes it really frustrating to watch.
So let's talk about that. When you look at Dameon Pierce and his production early on in games, and then he's just not around at the end of games, it seems like. Is this a trust thing, Seth? You think that they don't trust him later in games?
I think that they don't trust him as a receiver the way they trust Rex Burkhead, which I find puzzling because Rex Burkhead is a washed up version of something that he never actually was in the first place. They're trying to use him as this magnificent receiving back. He's had years where he's had 27, 30 receptions, but it's been as part of what we know happens in New England. They take these running backs and Tom Brady schemes them up perfectly and knows when they're going to be open. He's not this guy. If you're going to use a washed up running back to do things in a washed up fashion, I'd rather still have Mark Ingram here. But I'd like to have a reason to learn how to pronounce Agunbowale. Did I do it right? Yes. No? Who knows? We don't ever see anybody else.
I think the problem though is, Seth, it's too predictable. Like Matt was saying, I mean, when Rex is in the game, there's a strong possibility that they're going to check down to Rex. And many times, and that's just, it can't happen. I mean, you got to use, can't believe I'm saying this, Rex Burkhead as a decoy sometimes, because what you've done the first 3 games is you're continuously going to him on certain situations, and teams are just going to key in on guys like that.
You don't throw to a covered Rex Burkhead. You throw to a running back is somebody that you throw to because he's wide open, because all the good receivers are covered, not Rex Burkhead. You're not jamming the ball in, trying to go, we got to get Rex Burkhead. He's so electric after the catch. Does he have any yards after the catch this year? No, because somebody's always draped over him. So, oh gosh, Davis Mills, do you think when you try to force the ball to Rex Burkhead that somebody might be able to keep up with him? Like somebody on that defense might know what you're up to and might be fleet of foot enough to catch up to Rex Burkhead and get a jump on the ball. My God.
Yes, but he is one of the nicest guys on the team.
I know.
Now if you look at
I'm sure it's garbage.
If you look at the if you look at the stats though, Dameon Pierce averaged more per catch than Rex Burkhead did today. I mean, like 10 yards per catch to Rex's like 3.5 or something. Dameon Pierce is a willing receiver out of the backfield. He was a good receiver. He even though he didn't run the ball much at Florida, he worked out of the backfield. He was a good receiver out of the backfield. And I know, here's one thing I did like. When he fumbled, the Texans got it back. They stayed with him. At least they did the rest of that drive. Like you said, they totally went away with him, it seemed like, away from him there in the second half.
And now expectations for next Sunday. We saw the Colts knock off the Chiefs. The Jaguars beat the Chargers. So what % chance do the Texans have of beating the Chargers next Sunday?
I give them Pep Hamilton knows Justin Herbert really well because he coached him for a year. I feel like Justin Herbert has moved on from whatever bad habits he had back then. I give the Texans a 3% chance.
3%.
Yeah.
Well, judging by today's upsets, I'm going to give him a 10% chance. So you're saying there's a chance? Yeah, I mean, if they play a perfect football game, that's what it's going to take, right, guys? They can't make mistakes and win a football game. And my concern, though, is the Chargers are going to be really upset and come in here on fire. But I give them a 10% chance.
What's Rex Burkhead's number?
28.
21, 28?
Yes.
They call that number a lot, so I'm going to give them a 28% chance of winning.
I don't know what the line is. It's obviously too early, but I will take Texans with the points. I don't think they win, right? But I think the line is going to be heavily tilted towards the Chargers. Look, last year that was David Culley's finest moment. So you never know what this Texans team is going to have, but they do have to clean up some of this stuff. I mean, the tackling has just got to be better. And like I said before, the predictability of the offensive play calling, that's really hurting this team. One other play that they get down to the goal line and they give Dameon Pierce the ball and he loses 3 or 4 yards. Again, there are certain situations where defenses, especially when they're looking at a team like the Texans that aren't as talented as others they might be facing, you have to mix it up a little bit more. And Pep's just not doing that right now.
All right, so that's all we have right now on the Texans as they get ready to play the Chargers. Seth, as always, thanks for hanging out with us on Sports Extra, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, the line is -7 Chargers. The Chargers are 7-point favorites. That the Texans have played teams close this year. I'll give them a 33% chance of winning or tying.